Hey guys, welcome back to Ebbs and Flows, where we talk about the highs and lows on and off the field. Braids, what's up, bro?
What's up, brother? How are you?
Thanks for jumping on. I've been looking forward to interviewing you for a little while. We sort of chopped it up. I remember I put out a post a while ago and your name popped up and you replied straight away. And we're doing a little bit of research before you jumping on. So you got an interesting story.
I appreciate it, bro. Thank you.
First and foremost, congrats on the 100. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, it's every interview I sort of talk about this. It's sort of the same thing. I just love it. Like it's just the cliche of not knowing if you play one to playing 50, then to play 100. It's very special to me to get it with such a great club, such a great organization, and in front of my family and friends. It was pretty special. When
you look back on those 100 games, what's the clear defining point of what's been the hardest point during that time for you?
Probably the last couple of years was just injuries. I had a few big ones. I ruptured my pec in 22, put me out for 3 months, and then you come back for your first game after 3 months being out against Penrith when they're on the road, and it's just lungs are on fire from the get-go. And then had a few knee injuries in that, and sort of leading up to the 100th game, the week of the final game last year against the Roosters, I did my knee. So I had that injury, and it just sort of stop-start. I thought last year for myself was a good year, but just could never find that consistent rhythm of I'd be in for 4 games, out for 5, in for 2, out for 3. It's just it was never that continuation of the stretch of games that I wanted to play. But yeah, we got there in the end, and that was probably the hardest part for me mentally and physically.
Did it feel like a relief when you got to that 100? Because it's a nice number.
Yeah, it is. It was just saying that you've played 100 NRL games. It's sort of something that not many people can do, and I'm pretty proud of myself for that. It was a pretty humbling moment to feel the love, and I wasn't the only one excited for myself to get to 100. The teammates that were there, my friends, their partners that were stoked for me. My partner was stoked for me. My family was stoked for me. It was just, the outer circle that you have sort of feels a lot like you do on the field.
I love that, bro. So, bro, where'd you grow
up? So I grew up in West Auckland.
What school did you go to?
I went to Avondale for high school. I went to a Catholic boys' school first called Liston, and then me and the dean had a disagreement, and he thought I would go better at another school, so left there and went to Avondale for a year, and then finished up there and came to Sydney.
What's it like? People Auckland can be considered a rough place, and in South Auckland, that's probably the equivalent of Western Sydney out here. But West Auckland's a tough place to grow up as well. What's it like growing up there?
Yeah, you sort of have this when you come over to Australia. You sort of have this battle of who had it harder and where from. I feel like boys from out west or other parts of New Zealand wanted to be saw South Auckland as the benchmark of struggle, and they wanted to try beat that. And it was sort of West Auckland for me, man, was just, I don't know, you might have become numb to it because you grew up around it, so you didn't really realize it was tough until you left. But it's definitely harder in a different way than it would be South Auckland or Western Sydney. There wasn't much youth crime there or stuff like that, but there was also, I think there was a high rate of DV over there in West Auckland, but you never really saw it because you just didn't think it was any different. But then looking back on it now, you're far out. There's actually a fair bit of single parent households, as well as families that couldn't send their kids to school with shoes on, and you never saw it as a thing. You just what it was. It was what it was, And I feel like I always get upset with people that say, when you say you're from Auckland, people say, "Oh, South Auckland must be terrible." The only people that say that are people that haven't grown around that sort of lifestyle. You hear people from South Auckland that are proud as to be from South Auckland, and even Western Sydney, the people that assume that it's tough just haven't been around that lifestyle, and it's sort of an ignorant thing to say because it's the easiest thing to say about it. This, back in the day, the Warriors team was full of people from South Auckland, Mono Vatuvai was from South Auckland. Ruben Wiki was out there, doing stuff around that community. So, yeah, I think it's a tough discussion to have when people don't know about it, but they want to have the their first opinion of it is, oh, it's tough.
I remember when I first moved to Auckland, it does have a tough like vibe about it, you know what I mean? And like you can be in like a nightclub or having a drink, and like it could just be one look, bro, and like you're in fights. You know,
Yeah, it's that sort of tall poppy syndrome, eh? Like they talk about like, you go back there and it feels like everyone's like, oh, this guy too good for everyone, but you know, just I get what you mean. Like there is that sort of bravado type of alpha male type vibe, eh, when you go over there.
Bro, for sure. Especially if you can't fight like me. Not a good place to be.
Yeah.
How'd you get into footy?
So it was just everything that I knew pretty much. My dad coached me since I was 4. Played at Newland Stags for a year, and then went to Ponsonby Ponies.
Oh yeah.
I played with Tyler Nathan Wong. Yeah, she was our little halfback, and
she's awesome.
Yeah. Her uncle was the coach for with us there, and then ended up at Glenora Bears because it was right around the corner, and just never looked at rugby union. Dad always just said rugby league, and I don't know, I sort of realized that I was decent at it, so just had a go at it, and here we are today.
Wise fan growing up?
Yep, of course, like, you know, just being from there, Wise fan, but
I feel like you can go both ways, eh? Like you can either be them or like, I hate the Warriors and I'm going to go support someone else.
I used to love Penrith, eh? I used to love watching Reece Wester at the back because I had Stacey Jones Rugby League, and he was a fullback for Penrith, and he just like do the old rugby 08 trick, you just run sideways and just carve it up. He was good, and the Pulatua brothers were there, and they were pretty, it was an inspirational team to see like those guys playing, eh? Like Pacific Islanders playing over in Australia for a team like that. It was pretty awesome to see.
Yeah, it was cool because there wasn't as many Islanders during that time, was there?
Yeah, they were always playing for the Warriors.
Yeah.
And, you know, like Ali Lauatiti over there. Henry Fa'afili was the guy that created the celebrations and, you know, all those guys. And then you see on the other side, you see like, Ngalavau brothers and Pulatua brothers. It was pretty surreal.
Obviously, there's a lot of Polynesians in the game right now, and I think Polynesians take on like a lot more, like a different type of pressure that not everyone understands. And some of that pressure, especially being Samoan, comes from family and being able to provide for your family. Was your family like that, especially when you come into NRL? Were they like sort of asking for things, or was it your job to provide for the elders? Because it's a topic not many people really know about.
Yeah, not for me, because my parents sort of, They never, like, we never went without, so they never expected anything from us. Like, my parents sort of instilled in us that we would never owe them something.
I love that.
Like, my mum and dad, they saw them parenting us and giving us what we needed as, like, just that, like, what we needed. Like, it's not you don't owe us back in the, like, down the track. You don't owe us because you make money. But, yeah, I sort of, I don't like to sort of give without reason, if that makes sense, like to family members, because I feel like it can sort of bring a boundary that's sort of skewed a bit. Like they'll just expect things from you because you're there without, you know, coming to see you or stuff like that, and it's sort of like all this give and take, but never like receive it back. Like it's sort of a iffy subject, you know, because
and then you look like the bad guy. Eh?
Yeah,
like,
you want to do,
you've changed.
You want to do the right thing, but also like where does that right thing sort of become a disrespect of like just being walked over a bit? And you know, like I love family. Family's massive for me, but there's also a line where it becomes disrespectful to me and my partner, like, and my family as well.
What is that line?
It's just a line of like expectation of, oh yeah, my cousin will do this, or my brother will do this, or and you're like, oh, I've got a family as well. Like if I can't provide for them and I'm providing for you, like my family go without, you know. And it was sort of that line of, yeah, you always want to be like Samoan and family first and that, but how far does that family line go, you know?
Yeah.
Like are you like stuff for people's cousins, sisters, neighbor that you've never met, but you're expected to give money for stuff. And yeah, I don't agree with that as much.
And also like the other side of it is like training gears and signed jerseys and tickets. Like they think you've just got access to 1,000 Sharks jerseys that are already signed.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the guy, oh bro, can you sign this? Can you sign this?
Yeah, well, you know, we sort of, have this thing like boys come in day one of preseason, they're already putting jerseys out, and you're like, damn, rent already, far out. Cost of living gone up already.
Are they all the Islander boys too?
Nah, there's a few of them. Hey. Brett Nakota, far out.
Oh, is he the guy?
A few jerseys on that guy.
Yeah.
But nah, it's all good.
So you said your dad was your coach growing up, and my dad was my coach growing up too, and he taught me a lot of hard lessons when I was younger. But I do appreciate those lessons now as a grown man. What did your dad teach you that's carried over to being the person you are today?
Yeah, discipline was one of them. I remember there was a time where sort of like 15s to 17s, wake up 5 o'clock in the morning and he'd follow behind you in the car with the lights on, and you're running up the hills and doing all this and that. And yeah, discipline was one of them. Sort of hard work and trust in yourself. My dad was big on instilling a value that, you know, if you believe yourself first, no one can tell you differently. Like if you yeah, like there were times that where I would miss out on rep teams in New Zealand, and my dad would be like, hey, like you probably just, you know, it wasn't time for you to get there, and what could you have done differently? And
so he was asking those types of questions.
Yeah,
then. Oh, that's cool.
And it sort of made me realize, like, shit, like it's not all their fault. Like, you know, like they haven't mistaken me or you know, they haven't stuffed up the selection process. It was like, what have I done differently? You know, maybe I didn't do the best season that I've had, and yeah, it was sort of a eye opener to see that sort of side of it, because I know dads that are coaches can sort of go the other way and be like real hard and and sort of go and sort of like diminish your sort of abilities and all that stuff. But yeah, I was grateful that my dad sort of went that way. There were times where, you know, playing for Point Chev in my last year, the winger would score and somehow it'd be my fault, but you know, that's neither here nor there.
I haven't been holding a grudge at all.
Yeah, no, I haven't held on to that for
Bro,
12
but
years.
like I think Auckland rep teams when you're coming up are like big, and even like because I grew up 2.5 hours south and I'd played for Waikato, but like I knew at least 8 or 9 of the Auckland boys that were in the team, not through like social media or anything, just through reputation. And we had guys like Sonny Fai and Paddy Avan and would rock up, and bro would be like this tall, and these guys look the same size as you now, and would get pumped by 50, and they just sort of had this like legacy around them. So making those rep teams during those ages are like almost everything, aren't they?
Yeah, it was pretty cool to like sort of be around guys that are sort of on the same trajectory. You know, I had teams with Bunty R4, Toff Sipley, Josh Aloiai, like boys that have kicked on. And then even when we played Northland Swords, you had Fish playing for them, and he was nowhere near the size that he is now, man. He was skinny, but bro, he still had the heart, and like he was still putting on shots in that, and made it hard for us too. So yeah, it was just sort of you obviously don't appreciate the rep teams that you make, like, because you don't, it's just boys that you play with every week, and you don't really see it from the outside in. But hearing you say it from, you know, Waikato, and then looking at the Auckland boys, you're like, far out. Like you can sort of see it now. Like, yeah, it's still like humbling to hear that, because, you know, boys might get lost in that and take it for granted.
Be under 14s, be like, fuck, that guy's got a beard.
Yeah. He's got a full tattoo. How's
he's got 2 kids. Joe beard.
Got a mortgage, eh?
Yeah. So we'll talk about the Sharks at the moment. Obviously, top of the table, boys are flying. What's the vibe like around the club?
Yeah, it's happy. All the boys are sort of just, it's like business as usual, you know, like we're not sort of getting too ahead of ourselves. Got a couple of hard games coming up, but yeah, the vibe's good. Everyone's working hard and walking into training with a smile. So
it makes things easier, doesn't it? When you're winning.
It does. We're like earning the way we feel. So yeah, if we want to keep coming in with smiles, we got to play like it.
You guys got a stigma around you that you guys don't deliver in the finals. Is that something that gets addressed, or is it sort of pushed to the side and let's get a little bit better? Like, how do you guys correct that?
We're not really focused on the finals, because we haven't got there yet. We haven't earned that yet. So we're still working on a week-by-week basis. And once we sort of feel like we're getting closer to those finals, we'll start addressing the old stigma that comes with it.
Are you guys starting to look around at your team and go, oh, we got a side here,
Yeah, we sort of, you know, every time you come in, like even last year, we looked at each other and we're like, we could actually do something special here. Like, obviously, results in that didn't deliver, but, you know, 2024 is now, and we're looking at that now. And yeah, you look to the guy left and right of you and you're like, I can trust this guy to be there for me, and he can trust me to be there for him. So anything's possible with us, and it's just up to us, really.
What makes Fitzy Fitzy?
Yeah, Fitzy's he's an odd character, but he's a good character. Like he cares about the person than the athlete, and it's I think it's a lot of directions coaches are going to nowadays is the athlete comes second to the person, and he wants you to be a better person for the community, for your family, for your friends, and then the team. It was sort of awesome, and I never really had a coach that I could sort of go and have a vulnerable conversation with, and Fitzy was the first one that I felt comfortable doing that, and that's a massive thing for me because, you know, comfortability and vulnerability in male sport is probably not where it should be at the moment, and to have a coach that you can go to and say that, and he would be unbiased, it was special to me, and he's unlocked a few things that I never knew I had in myself as a player, and I'm excited to see what else can be unlocked.
What's he unlocked? What's been the big one?
I dare say my effort areas have gotten a bit better. I was sort of like relied on my talent to, you know, the moments kind of guy when I was coming through. Like I'd look to score
the try. Highlights about
yeah, that's what I mean. Like I'd look to do the big hit or the big run, and sort of like if I did the big hit and miss, it would put my teammates under pressure, and he sort of just says, you know, just 7 out of 10 is your benchmark, and then your moments like the big hit or like the run are an 8. So my 7 out of 10 is just my movements in that and getting all my effort areas right, and then if I get the chance to get an 8 out of 10, I'll do it. But my focus and what he's unlocked is my want to hurt in the hard stuff and want to do the nitty gritty.
What I know what effort areas are because I play the game, but what are effort areas for someone that doesn't really understand this?
Yeah, so effort areas for us are like our kick chase and our kick pressure, obviously the 1%ers, and you know, like keep moving when the ball's sort of in the air. Like you don't want to watch a kick go up and then just stand there and have your fullback from the other team run straight past you. So yeah, all those effort areas, and just sort of not being that chink in the armor that, you know, Dylan Edwards or Dream Bullock can find in the hole and find in the line, and then just take it off, and then you expend more energy running 20 meters back because you've just copped it. So,
yeah. And it's like being half a pace off, or like that little triangle within. That's all they need.
Or if you're if like you've got guys like Tino's good at it. He sort of looks at one side of the ruck, but then he'll all of a sudden you're making the tackle on the other side of the ruck because he's seen that little chink that the other side didn't move up, and you know, you never know until you've actually like, oh my gosh, like, fuck, that's me.
Yeah. Dale Finucane obviously retiring. I think it was a great decision for him, just as someone who's left the game and seen how tough he played it. What did he mean to the club, and what did he mean, and how did he help you develop as a player? Yeah,
he was massive for us. Like you just knew that day one he was bicep pads on, head taped, everything. He was in there, like he's just 100% at everything, and it sort of.
Is it annoying or is it good?
Oh, at the beginning it was annoying because you're like, what happened? Because, you know, we had guys like before that we had guys like Gao and Wado and Louis that were sort of on the back end of their careers, and they were like, oh, gentleman's agreement at training, and then Dale comes in and he's full steam ahead, sprinting out of the tunnel for training, and then ripping your head off in the wrestle, and sort of like I swear he blacks out at training, like he's just oblivious to it. Like you'll cob an elbow to the throat and he'll just be like, oh, what happened? Oh. And then you're just like, what the heck? Like, how do you not see that? But no, he was massive for us in the leadership qualities that he brought in, and him and Cam sort of on the same level of training.
Yeah, both tapped.
Yeah, both tapped, and then sort of brings you up there. And like, I don't think we've ever trained as hard when before we had these guys. Like, these guys have just raised our training levels, intensity to another level. Because
Cronulla's like historically been a player-driven club, and they talk about this with like South Sydney Rabbitohs at the moment. But you guys had great success with Gal, Louis, Wade, and those boys had the power to call trainings off, didn't they? Or we've got weights at this time. No, I'm doing this at 7. Well,
captain's run was definitely captain's run.
Yeah.
Flano tried to say something to Gal, and then Gal was like, nah, mate. Yeah. It was captain's run for a reason. Like, yeah. But yeah, those, like, Dale's, I've got so much time and respect for Dale. He's just, he was the man for us. Like, people sort of don't see it like we do. Like, every day he comes in, he's the first one in, last one out, and it's very admirable. Like, if you want to be a player like anyone in the league, you want to be a player like Dale Finucane. Like, I've never heard coaches talk about someone that that highly before.
Yeah, me neither. Like I've never heard a bad word about him, which is credit, because obviously he's been in the game for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, doesn't have any indiscretions about him. He just rocked up every day and done his thing, didn't he?
Yeah, just head down, and then knew when it was time to have a laugh, and knew when it was time to work, and he definitely worked.
Does he love a beer in that?
Yeah, we had a thing called 8 Day Dale.
Yeah.
So he would never drink until it was an 8-day turnaround.
Oh, I like that.
And yeah, 8 Day Dale was a good character. Yeah, he was fun.
Yeah, hoping for those long turnarounds.
Yeah,
Nice.
just to get him in there. But no, he was fun.
How important is Nico Hines to the club and Premiership glory?
Yeah, he's massive for the Cronulla community first. Like he does a lot of things outside of footy that people don't really see. Like he was an integral part of getting this mental fitness round that we've got going on, and he hopes to kick that off like the whole NRL wide sort of round. But yeah, he's massive for that community. He's massive for our team. Like he just controls the game, and he just sees the game differently to everyone else. Like, you know, when the forwards in the washing machine and you don't know really which way's left and which way's right, he's there to just steady the ship, and he's got like a calm demeanor about him that's never frazzled. You know, he might kick a ball out on the full once or twice, but he sort of comes back to it and just goes, you know what, mistakes happen in footy. Like, let's just get on with it.
Yeah, he is very well balanced, isn't he?
Yeah.
I love that about him. He always seems calm, which must be nice to be around.
Yeah, it is, because you don't want halves that are frantic and yelling at you when you're trying to breathe, because it just falls on deaf ears, really.
Obviously, pretty big signing with AFB coming over. Being a prop, how did you take that? And because obviously your name was tossed up as a potential swap with him, but as a prop, did you? Sometimes props can get offended by it, or were you the guy who go, fuck, I've got another guy next to me? How was it for you?
Yeah, first, obviously, like, you know, the ego side of you wants to say, like, this is bullshit. Like, why?
I'm already here.
I'm already here. We've got a good 4-pack here. And then you should actually, like, step away from footy and you look at it from another perspective, and you're like, this guy's another cog coming into a good machine already. Like, imagine what we're going to be like with him. You know, like, the 4-pack that we have might look underwhelming to the outside eye, but mate, add in a guy like him with what we have already, like, it's pretty scary, man. Like, hopefully, you know, we all gel and get what we want out of it, because I'm excited to have him next to me. Like, I'm excited to see that guy out in a blue, black and white jersey and running with us, not against us. So yeah, having to try and tackle that dude isn't easy, but hopefully, you know, when he comes in next year, it'll be more difficult to tackle everyone.
Yeah, for sure. You take the next carry after him too.
Yeah,
you know, you let him do the first one to his feet, get the quick play ball. Yeah,
100%. Nah, it's exciting. Like, yeah, he's a massive player, and one of the top tier props in this game, if not the best at the moment. So yeah, to have a sign like that, it's pretty exciting.
Your name was tossed up at the Warriors. What happened behind the scenes? Yeah,
just sort of like, I appreciated the Warriors and what they offered me, and the fact that they wanted to look at me as a replacement for Adam. It was honestly the hardest decision of like my life that I've ever had to make.
So there's a contract in front of you?
There was no contract in front of me, but there was offers, and like, I hadn't seen the actual contract itself, but there was an offer there, and it was the first contract that I had to think about someone else's life as well. Like, I have a partner now, and I've had a partner for a year and a bit now, and she had just moved down from Brisbane. So to have her uplift her life again within a year, to go back to New Zealand, where it's not really like where we saw ourselves going. We saw ourselves staying in Cronulla and the Shire for a lot longer, and there was like, we had so many pros and cons whiteboard sessions. I felt like I was a coach, and she was the player and the student.
Yeah.
But like, you know, this is what we got.
It's a cool framework to go through, though. Like, a lot of guys wouldn't think about that, eh?
Nah, and it was just like, there were so many conversations with other people. Like, can we see ourselves there long term? What happens after the 3 years? Do we come back here? What does work look like for both of us? Like, how is it going to work out? If we end up having a family, are we going to have them over there and keep them there, or what are we going to do? Like, it was just so many things. And then there was a conversation that I had with the coach, Andrew Webster, and he sort of put a deadline on the week. So I had a week to sort of figure out what I was going to do. And I had a thought to myself, and I pictured myself standing in front of the boys at Cronulla and saying that I was leaving, and I just fucking broke down. I was like, this is my family. This has been my family for 6 or so years. Like, to just say that I'm moving and probably won't see them again, it was hard, And to uplift the life that I had created for myself and my partner was too tough to just say. It was just too tough to turn away from.
Waz are a vibe though.
They are a vibe, man, and seeing their stadium, like I was able to go with for round one, and the crowd there, like the traction that they've got, it seems like they've ran Super Rugby into the ground by just one club. So yeah, it's massive to see their, like I'm so happy for them because they deserve it. You know, they've been in the headlines the last couple of seasons for the wrong reasons, and now they're finally in there for the right reasons. So. Growing up with a few of those boys and playing with them in junior leagues, I'm happy for them and I'm proud of them. And yeah, who knows what they're...
That round one win was a good one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's just grindy.
Yeah, it was one of those ones that you're so grateful not playing because round one after preseason, you do all the 240s and the Broncos.
Doesn't matter,
Doesn't matter, man. Like the squirm and the wrestle, like you watch it, I was just like, this is just going back and forth. And they scored those 3 tries and I was like, are we off there or what's to go? Like, can I go into the coach's box or something? But yeah, the boys dug deep and it was a pretty special win, to be honest, because you always knew it was going to be a hard place to win at round one.
Yeah, it's a tough trip anytime, but after the back of that momentum and the full crowd, credit to you, man.
That was good.
Yeah. So obviously you've been pretty transparent about your like mental health journey, and this is probably the big part of the conversation I want to talk to, because I look at you, you sit in front of me. NRL player, solid dude, big Islander. Everyone thinks you got your shit together. What's it been like going through this transition? And like, let's talk from like start to where you are right now. Like, when did you first notice signs that you were feeling a little bit down?
Yeah, sort of when COVID hit. Like, obviously everyone had those, like, you weren't allowed to go anywhere for a bit. And when COVID first came, so I remember the game. I remember what it was. It was round 1 or 2 against South Sydney. My mum, my dad, and my grandma came over, and they had planned like a 2-week stay. And then Jacinda Ardern had said, like, by 12 o'clock this day, you can't come into the country. So it was like 2 days after the game or a day after the game, and they had to get a
flight home.
Yeah, flight home straight away. So then sort of they locked their borders, and then we sort of shut down. And then I was by myself. Like, I lived by myself. And it was sort of a time where you're there just like sitting in there in your own thoughts and what's going to happen now. And I just sort of realized that I was a very anxious person. I felt things got to me and I dwelled on them for a lot longer than I thought. And it was tough, because, you know, you do think you have it all like wrapped up and you're all good and everything's sweet, but when one hits you, you sort of get into this mood and you're like, far out, like, I can't get out of this. Like, what's going to happen? What's
this like smallest thing that you'd sort of start to dwell over? Because a lot of people might think it's performances, but is there like anything that was in your day-to-day life that would start to stress you out?
Just the fact of me being by myself. Like, I sort of envied the boys in the team that had families, and sorry, excuse me. Yeah, I sort of envied the boys that had families and people to go home to, because you could go to training and see your friends, and you go home and see your family, your loved ones. And for me, it was just going home and just sitting there. Like, I would dread going home, to be honest. Like, I would sit in the car in the garage for like 20, 30 minutes, just sitting there scrolling on my phone, because I didn't want to go inside, because I felt like I was still out. So yeah, just going home was a tough task for me. Like, it was daunting, and it was home where is usually the safe space for you, and then where you feel safe and comfortable. It didn't really feel like home. It felt like just a place for me to sleep, and it was tough. Like, I know comparing hardships is never the way to go, and you always think like someone out there has got it harder for me, but yeah, it was tough for me. So yeah.
And that's a big thing, because a lot of people, like, everyone always seems to compare, like, say football, like you lose a game and like, oh, these guys are digging holes, like, that's always the comparison that people go through. That's a good point you bring up about, like, not comparing, like, it's because I do it as well. Like, there's times I'll have conversations with my partner and she'll say something and then I'll be like, oh, that's like me, like, I've gone through this. Like, everyone's hardest thing that they've gone through is the hardest thing that they've gone through.
It's like you got a battle of who's going through the hardest stuff, like if it's like, it might not be like things, you say something about someone and it might not be offensive to them, but you never know who's listening in. Like, it could be offensive to them, it could be offensive to someone else. And like, when you compare things, it's just, there's no real winner. Like, what are you trying to win there? Like,
who's sadder?
Like, why can't you try and, like,
you don't want to win that comp?
No, you don't. You want to sort of have the capacity to help them if they're feeling down and have them help you. Like, there's no point going back and forth of who's had it hardest, like, because there's no winners there. It's all both losers. So
when you've, like, over this past couple of years, start to, like, look at yourself and sort of unpack things, do you look back at your childhood? Was there anything traumatic that happened in your childhood?
Yeah, so I'm a big believer in therapy. I've been seeing this guy, a therapist, for the last maybe 2 months now, every sort of 2 weeks, and it's been the best thing. You never realize how, like, much stuff has been buried into you from such a young age, like a childhood, and then how it actually affects you as an adult. Like, I've unpacked things with him that from a child that might have framed me to who I am today, and how I handle sort of things. Like, obviously he taught me that two things can coincide. You can love your parents and everything, but you can also be upset with what they did to you as a child. And being an Islander, from an Islander father who's very strict and disciplined, and his sort of, and you sort of get the hiding every now and then, and the reason for it was never explained. It was just, son, like, because I love you, I do this because I love you, and like, so then you sort of associate love and violence, and it's like, if that's how love is, what's hate? Like, you sort of like, how bad is hate if I'm getting a hiding because I'm loved, like. And you look back on it, like, did you deserve some of the hidings? I think there was better ways to handle it, of course. But, I respect my dad a lot, and I love my dad. But I do think, looking back on my childhood now, there was definitely things that could have been handled differently. But yeah, it was you never realize until you've grown out of it and you've moved on and you've become an adult and you start talking about it, that things from back then have an effect on the adult that you are today.
Do you think about, is there an element of sympathy towards him because potentially that's how he was brought up?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Like, I spoke to my mum when we went back for round one. I got the chance to have lunch with my mum, and I spoke to her and I was like, obviously me being the eldest, do you think I caught the brunt of how dad grew up? And she was like, 100% you did. There were so many times that me and your dad had arguments about the way he handled you, and we sort of got into verbal altercations, and hearing that was like, it sort of, I did sympathize with my dad because, especially him, like his generation, they never saw vulnerability as strength or tears as strength. They just saw it as weakness, and they saw like emotions as weakness, and I doubt he ever saw his uncles or elder cousins or father cry more than twice, or unless it was at a family funeral or something like that, And like, I can recall how many times I saw my dad cry. It was like maybe 3 or 4.
Bro, I'm same boat. I remember my dad crying when I was a kid, like maybe twice.
Yeah. And you're never around it, so then you grow up and you're like, nah. This is why it's such an important topic now, that men's mental health. Like, people got to realize that you're not diminishing a masculinity, you're just opening up an avenue for you to alleviate the stress, other than going out and having a drink or
prescription drugs
or punching holes in the walls. Like, it's they're extreme avenues, but there's also ways that like talking to someone, like saying 2 words, writing it in a book, your thoughts that are going on in your head, or going for a walk or something. Like, I'm still working on that myself. I feel like I get a bit heated and I project my anger out the wrong way. And I'm still working on that with my therapist and trying to get myself to a point where I can sort of just take 5 minutes by myself and come back and refresh and talk with my partner more calm and clear. But yeah, I do look at my dad and I think, like, if, you know, you only did what you knew.
Yeah, for sure. But I can relate to the story like so much, because my dad like was my coach. He was like tough. I never got like hidings or anything, but like it was an option. You know what I mean? But like when I got to about 2021, I was over in England and things weren't going my way and I couldn't like handle the pressure, and I like dived into like Valium and prescription drugs, and I could get access to them like straight away, and Xanax, and I used to have them all the time. And I remember like even a couple of weeks ago, like a lot of things are changing in my life at the moment, and I remember I had this one random thought. I was like, fuck, I just love a Valium right now, so I could get like 12 hours sleep. So it's interesting you sort of bring that up, because I used to use it as a coping mechanism for me to get by, or use alcohol as a coping mechanism to get by, instead of just opening up or like being sad. And I remember I cried maybe about 2 or 3 times in my football career. And I remember I snapped my Achilles, and it was a week after I played a test match. I went back to reserve grade because I made it from, which is a crazy story, and I snapped it in the first minute. And I was like, bro, I was so down. And I remember I went in and he's like, oh, you snapped your Achilles, your season's over. And I just started like crying, and I cried for like 5 minutes, and then I like come out and I like wiped my tears, and I was like, went back to the sideline. I was like, oh, I have to be a good teammate here, and like, I don't want anyone to know that I'm like, I was crying or I'm a sook, and I was just sitting there like, down, bro. And then I got my surgery and I was lying in bed for like a day, bro. I couldn't stop crying. I remember I felt better after.
It's crazy how like good you feel after. It's just like all the built up emotions like you would have been feeling then. You would have been feeling like hard done by. You would have been feeling like, this is not my fault. Like, why is this happening to me? You would have felt all those emotions, and then like just an overflow of them just made you cry. And it was like, I feel like that's what I see crying as. Is I see crying as all the stress and the built up anger and the frustration that you have with certain things, just letting it out. Like, because then after you feel tired and you want to go for a sleep, and then you wake up and you're sweet. Like, it's so exhausting to have a big cry. But you know, like waking up after it, you're like, yeah, this is actually, I needed that. And it's like, after you cry, sometimes it's like, oh, actually wasn't that bad. It feels like that. Because obviously when you're under pressure and stress, and like there's a lot of emotions flowing through your body, and your IQ seems to lower, like everything feels like a lot worse than what it actually is, bro. So bro, I can relate. Probably need to cry a bit more, to be fair. It's a good play. So you're going through therapy now. It's kind of a weird topic still to talk about, and you like when you said, oh, you sort of jumped up in your seat a little bit, like your body language changed. What's it like going through therapy? Like, is it hard the first time? Does it get easier? Does it get harder over time? Does it feel like your therapist is saying the same shit after a couple of times? Yeah, it's definitely hard at the beginning. You sort of go through this process of sort of, who's this guy? Like, how's he going to help me? But you've got to remember that, you know, they're the safest space, because they can't say, like, they legally cannot say anything to anyone about it. So they're a vault, really. And he was really good, because the first session he said, whatever you say, whatever you come up with, I can handle it. I'm okay with it. Like, I'm not, like, he's managed to be able to compartmentalize himself so that he's free to talk to me about anything, and I'm free to talk to him about anything, and he's not going to feel like he can't handle it and sort of give me false advice or like shy away from a topic. Like, and that made me feel real safe, because yeah, no matter how big or small, I can talk to him about it. And it is sort of hard, because you don't want to, I think the hardest part about therapy is going in when nothing's wrong, because usually you go to therapy, you have something to start the conversation off, and you can lead it because something's playing up in your life, or like something's not right in your life, and it's easier to talk about the sorrows in your life. But then I think it's important to still go to therapy even when you're feeling good, because it gives you tools to still feel that way. And I think it's a checkpoint when you feel good and you go to therapy. It's a checkpoint that, okay, what I've learned from him so far is working. What else can I learn from him to keep me progressing and not regressing? And yeah, I found it hard going in a couple of sessions after the first couple, because it was a positive. Like, I was like, oh, nothing's even, like, I'm not sure why I'm here, like, at the moment.
Does he dig like a little bit deeper, or is he like happy for you to be in that space?
Yeah, he is happy with you, but he also wants you to sort of sit there and like try and find, not even if it's not negative, just try to find something that you think you can work on. Like just continue on, like even give feedback on how his strategies worked for you, and then you can sort of add on to it.
Without giving too much away, what's some of the tools that he's given you that help you?
So this is a big one for me. I'm going to shuffle the body language again. But I think it's important for us as men that with partners that we sort of look at, because you know how you're a young man and your dad's talking to you, never hit your partner, never hit a woman.
Yep.
You should never ever hit a woman.
Of course.
But then they're verbally bashing them. So you're around guys that swear at their partners, or you swear at the woman in their life and that, and you value, but you never hit them, so you're okay. So you value the physical violence and never to do it, but you don't value the verbal violence, mental abuse. What you should be doing is having them neck and neck, because they're both as damaging. Like there might not be bruises or physical evidence that you've abused this person, but mentally, like it could be draining for them. You could have like diminished their being for a little bit and then make them cry, and then you've valued this more than that when they're side by side, in my opinion, in his opinion. And I was like, that's so true. Like you think you're doing good because you're not laying hands on them, but what are you doing on the other side? You're questioning their character, you're insulting them, you're, questioning who they are. And like, yeah, I feel like that was massive for me to learn.
So you're in a relationship now and things start to get heated. What do you do?
Sort of, we have the ability to sort of say, I need 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Walk out.
Is 5 minutes long enough?
Oh, it could be 5 minutes, it could be like 30 seconds. You just walk up and you just think about it. You just have time to yourself. But we made a rule, like if you're the one that leaves the house or leaves the space, you come in and you start it off. Like obviously it was too much for you to handle. So you've taken your space and you've taken time to think about a way to respond. And you're the first one that should be talking, because then you can respond the way you want to respond. And then I think that sort of the person that has calmed down, has had the ability to calm down, sort of can lead the conversation back to calm. Like he also taught me this thing about two different people coming together. Obviously you have two different core beliefs systems. You sort of have disagreements, but you contend and then you collaborate. So you have that sort of face off, like you're squaring off, like a hypothetical, metaphorical speaking, like you're facing off in a boxing, like you're about to fight your opponent and you face off, and then instead of like they go to combat and they go to battle, you just contend there and you go the same way and you collaborate on how you can be better together, like how your core beliefs can intertwine and go together, instead of just like headbutting and just be like nah, like that's going to make people fire, like, and it's just going to be like popcorn. It's going to be like this, and then bang, something's going to happen.
Fuck, it's interesting you say that, because I find myself like that too. Because like, I'll have a conversation with like an employee or like whatever, and like I find it once the conversation doesn't start to go my way, I just almost go in like that attack mode.
Yeah.
And like verbally, like I can say like a lot of things and like quick-witted and like rude sometimes and egotistical sometimes, and I find myself, I can't help it, bro.
Yeah, well,
I just go bang.
I think that was like me. Like I was sort of similar. Like I felt like you say one, like we get to this point of the argument and then you said something to me and it's just like, you've gone at me, so I'm going to come back at you because I can now. Like he mentioned,
and it's like self-defense.
Yeah. But he
mentioned
it like sort of going back to how you were as a child. Like you got to this point with like your father, your dad, and you weren't big enough to go back at him, so he just took it. But now you're big enough to stand up for yourself and say something, you will. And I was like, that's like, honestly, it was so like, how do you get that from me being a 6-year-old or 7-year-old, 8-year-old kid to now? Like, how does that even work? And it was, it's
and like going back to that, having an Islander parent as well. And it's like, if you ask something, it's like, because I told you. That's just what it is.
Yeah,
like,
it was never like,
there was never a conversation there, was there?
Nah, it was just always do this because I tell you to. And if you said like, if you ask why, you're like, why are you talking back? Why are you disrespecting me? And it's just like, it was sort of never a win. Like, yeah,
you're always going to lose.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you: red pill, blue pill. Would you change your upbringing, or if you knowing what you knew now, and you could be the person you are right now, or the kid that never got disciplined, never got a hiding, which one would you take?
Yeah, that's a hard question because I never knew
the other side of
the
it.
other side of it. So I dare say,
Do you reckon you would have been in potentially like an NRL player?
yeah. I probably stick with what I went through, to be honest. And that might be the wrong answer to some people because it might contradict of what I just said. But yeah, that's a very, very good question, to be honest. Like, I would love to go back and do things differently, but I can't change who my dad was, like, and what my dad went through if I take either of those pills. So I dare say I'd get the same sort of treatment because he hasn't changed.
Do you ever look at someone like now, because I live at East, and you see a spoiled kid, 25, life happens to them, they start to crumble, and sometimes you look at him and you can tell he never got a hiding growing up. Do you ever look at guys like that and think of that?
Yeah, I do. But then I also think like their life would have been hard in another way. You know, like, who am I to talk on their life and who are they to talk on my life? Like,
good point, man.
Like I know what I went through. I don't know what they're going through. I don't know. You know, I feel like a lot of that stuff over, like, you know, the East, there's a fair few people that do commit suicide, and they're quite wealthy as well. Like, they just find things that's too hard. Like, maybe their life, they weren't taught sort of lessons to handle pressure and that because they were sort of not faced with it.
Yeah,
like they weren't faced with it as much as someone that, you know, didn't have as much and learned how to build resilience. And I think that's a hard thing to live through, like not knowing those lessons young to get them as an adult and not know how to handle it. I think that's pretty hard. Like, that's when shit goes to, you know, shit is the fan, when you're sort of mid-20s and like never faced with adversity or pressure, and like how would you handle it?
Yeah, for sure. The way you're sort of talking about that boxing analogy, I heard one the other day, and it's about like negotiations. It's more so about business, where like a lot of like, say, arguments or negotiations are like this, like we're sitting across the thing, across from each other, and we're having a conversation, and it's like what they were sort of talking about is like who can sit in the most uncomfortable awkwardness the longest. But the way that he reframed it, and he goes, all right, this is a negotiation, but let me come to that side of the table with you, and what's on this side is the problem, and the problem that we're trying to solve.
Yeah.
So like when I heard you frame that up like that, I was like, oh, that's an interesting way to frame it up. But I thought of that one as well. Like,
yeah, that's pretty
this
good
is the issue. How are we as a team gonna like figure this out?
Yeah. Because there's no point of both parties coming to the table with two different things and never agreeing. Like, find that common ground where you can work on it and go together. You
talk about core values a lot, and it's something I read up on a lot over the past couple of years. What are your core values?
Respect, honesty. Those are values, eh?
Yeah,
those are values. Eh? I've got to try to remember what they even mean. But yeah, respect, honesty. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to talk about core values now that you've actually asked me the question. But it's respect and honesty, like careful, like caring with people, and discipline would be a value. But you'd go differently about it nowadays. And hard work, resilience, and sort of don't really care about what other people say.
How do you get to that point where you don't care what other people say?
You just sort of got to learn about people have opinions. Doesn't mean they're true, you know. Like, they're like, you know, opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got one. Doesn't mean they should be open, you know. You can take that out if you want to. But I just want to say that. I just want to say that.
Just have that back.
Yeah. But like, people are gonna say whatever they want. Like, it doesn't change who you are. As long as you're true to yourself and what you believe in, then who cares? Like, I've seen people slander Penrith after they've won 3 championships in a row. Like, how can you talk down on them? But someone will find a way to. Like, it's just, I can guarantee you those boys don't care about that. Like, they're people that are writing these things and saying these opinions are watching them, you know. So yeah, it's just, opinions are just, they're not true.
How's therapy helped your footy?
It's made me find balance, eh? Like, made me realize that when you're balanced off field and your mind is clear with everything, you can sort of focus on footy, and it sort of progresses a lot more. So I feel like if your mind is clouded off the field, you go in with the intention to, not intention, but like you go in with a clouded mind on the field, and things will happen. Like you'll drop the ball, like you'll focus so much on not dropping the ball that you'll drop the ball, or you'll miss a tackle and cause a try, and then you'll be down on it, and you won't be able to dig yourself out because your mind is already clouded, and you're already like I'm useless. Like
Yeah, that's going to be on video, or everyone's going to think about this after.
Yeah,
the
that's
game.
going to be like
Yeah.
I used to be like that, man. I used to go out there and play and try to play well, so I wouldn't have a video clip on me in the video session because I was so scared of being embarrassed. And coaches would say, "This is not personal. This is just trying to get us better." And you're always like, "Nah, fuck off. This is like you've got 2 or 3 clips of me out there. That's personal, man. Like you're trying to get at me here." And then I just decided that one day I'd go out there and to not let the team down and not let the boys next to me down, because I know they're not going to let me down. So I play for them.
It's funny you say that, bro. When I was in 20s, because they got stats all after the games, and like I had 7 missed tackles or 8 missed tackles in the game, and it was like the first thing that popped up. And I remember I was like, "What's the definition of a missed tackle?" Like technically, because some of them were like, I felt they were a bit iffy.
Yeah.
And basically, one of the coaches said, like, if you put your hand on them and they like
Brush past
or something like that, if you touch them and you don't complete the tackle at the standard that we think should be a completed tackle, it's classed as a miss. And I remember one time, bro, the next game, like the boys ran a line on me, or they ran a double lead on me, and I was a half, and I went in like that on the main guy, but I knew the pass was coming across from me. And instead of me like leaving my arm out like that, I remember I tucked my arm in. Because I didn't want to miss tackle. I was gonna miss him anyway, like no matter what. But the fact that I didn't even try, like that wigged me out. And I remember, and I was like, and then obviously that's on the inside shoulder of your center. So, but it was quick. It was weird how quickly that processed through my brain. So he's come to the line, the ball's come across my face. I could make half an effort. I'm not going to affect the tackle, but I knew in my mind I was like, oh shit.
If I don't touch him here, I'm not getting a miss tackle.
And then I'm getting a video. Hey, that wasn't me.
That was me. Yeah, that's crazy. Like how much that sort of stuff plays in your mind. Like. Yeah, you talk to a few boys in the, around the club and the comp, like people are so strung up on what could go wrong. Like there's a changing the terminology of like, don't drop the ball. You go out there and what happens? You're so focused on not dropping the ball, you drop the ball. It's like, golfers when they want to hit it onto the green, they don't say, don't hit it into the water. They say, what am I going to do? I'm going to get my stroke right and it'll hit it to the green. Like, you go out there as a footy player, you go, if I don't want to drop the ball, what do I need to do? I need to make an early catch. I need to tuck it in. I need to get my bumpers up so I'm blocking the ball, and I need to hold the ball tight. Like that's what you should be focusing on, not the actual error itself. Because then I feel like if you're focusing on the negative, that's all you're going to do because you're so strung up on it.
Yeah, it's like when I played half. Like obviously when you're waiting for the kickoffs, like the first kickoff of the game, and then, when they shape the ball up the right way, you're like, fuck.
I remember because I used to love watching Pat Richards do the kickoffs.
Oh no,
how he would turn it, bro. And I'm like, I feel sorry for those halfbacks trying to catch that. Like, it's even worse being a forward on the dead ball line. Yeah. And you see the ball and you're like, nah, he's got this. Nah, he hasn't got this.
Oh, this is getting close to me.
You gotta look, is my foot out? Do I touch it? Do I catch it? What do I do here? And like, you gotta focus on catching the ball in the air. But nah, just terminology of things I reckon can help the mind.
Speaking of, bro, the kickoff, that's a big, obviously they're trying to like cancel at the moment, which is in my mind the dumbest shit ever. What's your thoughts on it? You live in that space. You live in that space.
I love the kickoff runs. I love having them run back at kickoff because I feel like it like sets the game up. Like boys go in there stressed out, and everyone's like, oh, once you get your first carry out the way, once you get your first tackle out the way, you're sweet. Like, oh, if that's the case, then I want my first carry to be the first of the game, so I'm sweet for the rest. Like I think it's tough because obviously there's been some head knocks and collisions out there, but man, you can get whiplash from driving a car, you can get whiplash from training, you can get all that from like. It's just an unfortunate event that happens in a game that's full contact, and boys and men that want to stop that person from making meters. Like, it's just going to happen. Like, I'm not with the whole change the kickoff because then you lose a big aspect of the game. And man, I love kickoff runs, man. I love being on the other side of kickoff runs when I try to defend them. Like, it's.
And realistically, like people go, oh, it's like 1 into 13. Realistically, it's not. It's a game between the props, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Like it's you versus 2 or 3 of their guys. Maybe a back row gets a shot in
and
early.
Nowadays, front row is a bit faster, so they sort of see those 4 coming, like the back rower, the 2 middles, and then they sort of go, yep,
Yeah. Where's the half?
There's the hooker there. Hooker usually kicks off, so I'll just go that little gap there. Like they're smart with it. Like it's just a bit of bravado, like showmanship, really. And it's just unfortunate that guys get sort of pinballed in the middle. Like if you go in with the intent and like right technique, you're gonna be fine.
Yeah. Hopefully they keep it. Like I can't see them changing it. It's too important.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and like I've been listening to James Graham talk about it a lot, and like he says he lived for that contact, and you guys, props are a special breed. They love that shit. Don't they?
Well, me and Jimmy actually had a kickoff interaction that he speaks about on his podcast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and like to hear him say that he wants it in, like one of the hardest men that has ever played the game, to hear him say that he wants to keep it in, just keep it in, man. Like it's crazy that people that aren't or haven't done a kickoff run or try to do a kickoff, like defend one, are the biggest advocates for it. Like, mate, get on the, do one at least, and then like tell us, like you can't have ever played footy and try and make rules and changes to benefit it. Like it's already a fast enough game. You already got 2 interchanges down from back a couple of years ago. Like how much more like faster and less aggressive do you want it? Yeah,
it's getting annoying, eh? I used to hate when I was like D'ing up and props start veering this way off the kickoff. Oh, bro, run to the middle, you fucking cat. talk shit on the way out.
Go to the middle, mate.
He's scared, boys. He's scared.
He had a look.
What do you think of the Paul Kent stuff that's been happening recently? No comment?
That tree's a bit of a tough tree, isn't it?
Bro.
It's pretty ironic. It's ironic that he hosts 360 because he was 360'd into the tree. So, it's someone that, obviously he's human as well, so he makes mistakes. But the way he handles players' mistakes and how much he goes at them, like, it's, like, you get what you get, I guess. Like, you can't be near disrespectful to someone that's making mistakes as a player, and then you just expect to get off scotch-free, like that's not how the world works. That's not how the universe works, and unlucky.
It is ironic, eh? like we done a podcast the other day, and me and Norms were talking about it, and obviously Normie's never been a squeaky character off the field, and he's been like bagged by him, so it was just funny to sort of see the reaction from all the boys that have been bagged in the past.
I've been lucky enough to not have been bagged by him, but you feel bad for the boys that have been bagged by him because of your mates as well,
Yeah, for sure.
So you got to have your brothers' backs, and I guess whatever happens from it. Like, if I dare say, if he doesn't go back on 360, no one will be disappointed.
Yeah, 100%. I think like having more players drive media and current players drive media is the way to go, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%.
Because like you said, like journalists are the one that are pushing for the no kickoffs and the head knocks and all that sort of stuff. Like,
but they've never played the game.
Yeah, we understand the risk that we play.
Yeah, and like that's what you do. You play rugby league because it's a full contact sport. Like you can't take something out of it because of you know what you're signing up for. The risks of possible head knocks and broken bones and torn ligaments and all that stuff like that. So yeah.
That's less worrying. More so like the hip drops and stuff. Like that's the stuff that makes me go, oh.
Yeah.
Like I know they're trying to outrule it and stuff happens. But that's the scary stuff for me because I've had like you've knee injuries. And I've snapped my Achilles. Like,
they're pretty.
Bro, it's yuck.
They're rough, because I feel like they're avoidable, man. Like if you just tackle properly, you won't be swinging around the back.
Yeah, you got to get your body in front.
Yeah, you got to get your body in front and actually have a crack. Like if you want to go for a low tackle, dip on them and like lift them. Like we got Blake Brayley, that's barely 80 kilos, and he's dipping on front rowers, and like he's not swinging around the back of people's legs and dropping on their ankles. Like, there's. I
feel like when I used to try and dip on people, I feel like they could tell when it was coming.
Yeah,
I must have like televised it too much.
Yeah,
try and give off the fake eyes, and then darken their beauty on your back.
Blake has such great technique at doing it, and Jack Williams too, man. Those guys are like present so late and then just boom. Like it's funny seeing front rowers get dipped by Blake.
Yeah, that's the worst feeling.
Because then you're picked up with one leg up and you're like, oh, just put me on my back, man.
Wait, do I go on my back or do I just try like self-preservation offload, and then get up, go do that?
Where were you, man?
Bro, I think props, maybe like centers, the one position that can go like one-on-one, like a center, Jesse Raymond can look up his center and go, fuck, let's go. Like we're on air. You can challenge each other. Props can do the same as well.
Yeah.
Who's the couple guys that like when they're when the calendar comes out that you look forward to playing to in your position?
Oh, bro. To be honest, everyone, like, if you go into a game not keen to go against some elite athletes in your position, then you've lost half the battle there. Like, I'm keen on going against the best of the best to see where I am and, you know, and do my thing. Like, if they get the better of me, they get the better of me. Like, it's not the end of the world. Like, you'll play them again eventually to redeem yourself. Like, these battles are just they're made to be had, and you know, I'm keen to go up against every forward pack that's out there. Like, I don't shy away from anyone, and I'll keep that like till I retire. Like, I'm very big on like first up contact and that, and try to get the best of the opponents. So yeah.
Give me your 3-2-1.
As
props.
In right now,
today.
Yeah, I'd probably say Adam will be up there with 3. Payne will be there, and Joey Taps.
1.
Joey Taps will be there too.
Yeah, true. He's the guy. Eh?
Yeah, he's the rock down there, man. He's charging.
Yeah, I love that. I'm gonna ask you a tough question, bro. Ever thought about committing suicide on your down days?
Never to a point where I've actually thought, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. But I definitely thought, like, would I be missed? Would it be tough for others around me? And like, I sort of thought how once I was sort of writing a journal entry at the national park in Cronulla, and it's sort of the edge of,
I know exactly what you're talking about, bro.
The edge of it where the whales and that go through, and like, I thought, like, if I was to just go, like, I felt like real depressed, but I wasn't sure if I was just a person that had who felt depressed or actually had depression. Like
which were you?
I look back on it now, and I think I was just a guy in a tough spot, but not someone that was suffering from depression. So I wouldn't say I ever suffered from depression. But yeah, I thought, like, if I was to just like lean forward, like, what would that look like? But yeah, never to a point where I was like, this is nah. I've been quite lucky in that sort of headspace.
What does journaling look like for you? Do you follow a certain process? Is it something you do daily?
I try to do it daily. I've been a bit slack at the moment with it, but I do one after every week. I'll sort of write out how the week went, how I felt through the certain days, and what I want to look like, what I want next week to look like, and how I can control that. And yeah, sometimes it's like 3 words, sometimes it's 3 pages. Like, it can vary. But yeah, each day is different, each week's different. But I like to keep it because you go to sleep clear. Like, even though you're still thinking about your writing's in that book, you close that book and you're done. Like, all those thoughts are gone.
Yeah. I do it through my like broadcast channel, and I always post that stuff. But,
oh yeah.
Like, sometimes at night time, like, I can't sleep, bro, and I'll just type. And
yeah.
They're kind of just more so like notes to myself. I obviously post them publicly.
Yeah.
Well, I don't post all of them, but
like, you feel like when you go to sleep, you lay down and you feel knackered, and then you boom hit the pillow, and there's like 1,000 thoughts going through your head, and like, where do they come from? Like, so then you just sort of journal it before you go to sleep, and
you're aware.
Yeah.
All right, bro. What do you want your legacy to be as a person and as a player?
I want to be as a player, I want to be a player that people wanted to play with, that could look next to them and be like, yeah, this guy's got me. And as a person, I just wanted to be someone that sort of is pure and true to who they are. Kind, put people first, and yeah, just never deviated from who he really was.
What about as a person and as a partner?
Yeah, I want to be the best. I want to be the best partner that my partner deserves. I want to be a safe space for her. I don't want her to be worried about me or thinking about negative stuff that I could be doing or stuff like that. And I'll be honest and true to her, and I know that'll be reciprocated from her, and and I know that she knows that she's loved. So
I love that, bro. Oh, bro, I just want to thank you for your time and being in a space where you could open up, and I know a lot of people are going to get a lot of value out of this. So wishing you all the best for the season. Hopefully Cronulla make the GF and Roosters pump you.
appreciate it, bro. Thank you.
See you, my brother.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you.